In addition to the data tiers and phones query, within the query menu, we also have three other options, namely deletion, Epenthesis, and segmental relations. Within this tutorial, what I will do is cover the essential parts of each of these query forms. So, starting with deletion, we can see that deletion is detected through, first of all, looking for consonants and vowels, consonants or vowels within the target form, and aligning them with what is effectively coded as an empty string. So what I will do is look at only 3 sessions for deletion cases for consonants and vowels. And if we open any one of those results, what we can see is that those are the cases that are visible straight from the alignment, whereby a phone in the IP target, namely R in this particular case, is aligned with nothing in the IP actual. If we want to further specify this query, then we can change the phonics. For example, we could look at consonants, which are in syllable onsets. And again, here on these 3 sessions, look at all the cases where onset consonants were deleted by the child. And so that gives us a lower number, obviously. And here we have only consonants that are syllabified in onset, so consonants that appear here in blue that are aligned with nothing in the IP actual. And with those results, we can do just like anything else in the phones query, we can go on and export our results for further processing. Turning now to the Epenthesis case, so it's basically the mirror image of the phones query, of the deletions query. In this particular case, what phone does is it looks at the IP actual for consonants or vowels and aligns and looks for matching empty strings in the IP target. So really the Epenthesis query is the mirror image of the deletions query. So we can run this again, and what we can find in those results are all the cases where the child produced a phone that is not aligned with any phone in the IP target. And finally, if we bring up the segmental relations query, what we can see are a series of options that that you can select for phone to find the types of things that children sometimes do in their early phonological productions. For example, phone reduplication or migration or metathesis, harmony or assimilation, with a series of criteria to decide, whether you want to look at progressive or regressive relations, or if you want to look at place, voicing, or manner for consonants, or look at other similar dimensions for vowels. So to see how this works, I have my form set up now that I'm looking for harmony that will be progressive and regressive in a non-local way, so segments at a distance. And I want to see if there's such a thing in my corpus as a manner type harmony that would turn 2 consonants that in the IP target don't have the same manner of articulation into a string of consonants, still with material in between that would then share the manner of articulation. So if we run the query, we can see that phone detects a number of potential cases like that. And here the word potential is really important, because that's just a simple detector, and the way phone is configured the way that this query works might yield some false positives. So it's very important that you look at all of your examples when you think you found cases of harmony, in this particular case manner harmony. It's very important that you look at your examples to see if effectively the cases reported by Fawn would be analyzed as harmony cases by any kind of human phonologist as opposed to a computer. So here are a few examples. We have K that is harmonized with a T ligature y, and the harmony detected there is because of the consonant y, the glide y, which is a glide, and in the context where that form is produced by the child as a stop, the way that K, is also a stop. So this one case would be really for interpretation, depending on how we think about the analysis of that string within the child's phonology. If I skip over and go to the third example, then we have a case that actually looks like a good case of harmony, where the kid wanted to say the word ballon and said something like bum ban. And if you look at the phone alignment here, what we have is a BL sequence, distance sequence, or non-adjacent string of phones that is aligned with a string of phones where the manner feature is the same. Moving to the next one, we get T and a uvular fricative that's aligned with a T with a P, and that also gives us the detection of a manner harmony. So as you can see, Fawn will detect these things, but ultimately the analysis of these patterns has to be left to the researcher, just as anything else you can do with computer-assisted methods. So if you're interested in saving those results, the system works just like any other system around. You can go in the report composer, and what would be mostly needed here is a table by session, which gives you all of the results in a table for every one session, and we can have a look at the shape of this, where you can see that Fawn will report that in a given corpus, the Catocia corpus, and in a given session where Catocia was 1 year, 10 months, and 10 days, in record 25 you have the K-T sequence that is produced as a KT sequence. And again here, the analysis of that has to be determined. Whether you want to call that a case of harmony or not depends on your inclinations as a researcher. But in the case of BL produced as BB, TH produced as TP, and BH produced as BP, here we do seem to be observing potential cases of consonant harmony. So if you take segmental relations, the one thing you need to keep in mind is that it's really a detector system to help you look through the data and find potential cases of relations between segments produced by the child. But as I mentioned a few times already, you want to use those results with a grain of salt, because they may contain false positives.